with my Bible and a pen because I remembered what I heard. If you're going to sit and study the Bible, expect that the God of the universe is going to talk to you. This is my 20-year-old son. He and I were listening to a sermon yesterday, and the preacher was sharing, hey, if you really thought that you were going to find God in your quiet time, wouldn't you show up with a notebook and pen? And wouldn't you expect him to say something for you? Wouldn't that be the right thing to do? And so my son brought his Bible with him to work, and during break, he said, Mom, I sat there and I thought, okay, God, I've got my pen. I'm gonna wait. And then he goes, Mom, I didn't even get through 2 verses. And he went on to share this massively impactful lesson that he had learned because he showed up with expectancy. And it reminded me of a few, actually 3 times that I've witnessed, and there's a bunch of them, but these are some of my favorite times when the Lord showed up. And what the lesson is, the Lord loves when children approach him. The Lord loves when children ask him to show that he's real, right? One time, one of my kids I was pregnant and I couldn't walk because I was in pain, and my oldest son needed some new clothes. And I was like, Bud, I physically couldn't walk. And I said, I'm so sorry. I go, why don't you ask the Lord for new clothes? And he snorted. I go, dude, ask the Lord and see if maybe God answers your question, answers your cry. And he God, I need some clothes kind of things. He was maybe 11 or 12. And so he prayed, like, Lord, I need some new clothes. He totally didn't believe. Okay. The kid almost lost it when a really good friend of mine showed up at the front door. You can guess where the story is going. Oh my gosh. It still dumbfounds me. She shows up at my door with a paper bag filled, and she's like, Becky, my sister-in-law was cleaning out her closet and had some hand-me-downs. I don't know if you do hand-me-downs, but I thought they might fit your son. And I was like, oh, God. And she's a believer too. I go, oh, you have no idea. This is going to floor my son because he needed some clothes, and so anyway. So there I go, hey, buddy, come to the table. So he comes. I go, hey, so-and-so just dropped by with a bag of hand-me-downs that might fit you. And he looks at me like, I go, didn't you ask the Lord for some clothes? And he's like, I go, well, let's see what's in the bag. And he's thinking, okay, these are hand-me-downs. They're going to be tattered and worn. He's 11 or 12. And I don't know if you've seen, we passed hand-me-downs a lot when my kids were little, and boys destroy their clothes. So he opens this bag with zero expectation. He's still stunned that something showed up. But what he pulled out of the bag, I am not joking. Okay, I don't like to shop. But apparently, this woman, whoever she was, she loved to shop, and she loved name-brand clothes. My son's eyes got so wide and his jaw dropped because designer clothes start coming out of his bag. It was the nicest clothes he had ever owned. Ever. And so you have to understand that the Lord loves it when kids ask for something. Another story, I was walking with one of my kids who was a very sensitive child, and it was about Halloween time. And we're walking down the street, and he stops in his tracks because hanging from the tree is a really creepy skeleton. And he bursts into tears, and he's like, Mommy, why? Why would they? Why? Like, he was terrified of this thing. And I'm like, buddy, I go, I am so sorry. I know it bothers you. Why don't you pray and ask the Lord to have them not put that up next year? And he's like, Lord, please. So he prayed. the next year, they cut down all the trees in the front yard. And I remember walking by the house with the same son going, Bud, look, the Lord heard you. And they had cut down the tree and that creepy thing wasn't there. Teach your kids to actually ask the Lord for things that they're bothered by or that they need. Don't worry, God's big enough. Like, he's not a genie in the bottle. But I love the way that he shows up for children. I love the way he shows up for children. It's beautiful because when they're super little, they believe in Jesus because you believe in Jesus. They sing Bible songs because you sing Bible songs. They read their Bible because you read your Bible. But when they get old enough to see a need and then ask the Lord for something, God's waiting. He wants to show up for them. This one was one of my favorite answers of prayer for me, and it was such a simple thing, but it was so funny. Something happens. You'd be amazed that I actually had 5 children because after baby number 2, the second I get pregnant, I physically can't walk anymore. There's just something, you don't need all the information, but it's just so much pain. I can't walk. So I was standing in the house, and my husband was going to be hosting a Bible study that night, and I always made dessert for a Bible study. And I was like, wow, I would love to make those amazing lemon bars that I make. And I open my refrigerator, and I don't have lemons. I'm like, Lord, I don't have lemons, and I feel like that's what I'm supposed to make. So if you want me to make this, you're gonna have to bring me some lemons. I don't know, like an hour later, knock, 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 another friend shows up at my house, and she comes in, and she's looking at me like, you are gonna think I'm crazy. I go, no, I won't. She goes, you are gonna think I'm crazy. And I go, just tell me. She goes, I was picking lemons from my lemon tree, and I swear the Lord told me to bring you some lemons. And she shows me these lemons, and I started laughing because it was a direct answer to a very specific prayer spoken in front of my children. If you have children, if you believe in the Lord, encourage your children to ask the Lord for things that they need. If they're afraid, ask for him to comfort them. If they're anxious, ask him to help calm their spirit. If they need new shoes and you have no way to get to the store, have them ask for shoes. And then be expectant, like my son, who went to work, opened his Bible during break, and pulled out a pen. He's like, Lord, you said to come and to be expectant, and that you would speak to me. And then the Lord did. The Lord absolutely loves to speak to your children. Absolutely. Absolutely loves. So anyway, I just had to share that with you because I was just so encouraged by how the Lord showed up for my own son, again, the other son. I would love to hear how this has worked out in your life. It's just an amazing thing to watch